Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would do another video looking at the Blackburn B-48 Firecrest, and the reason for this is because, well, it's on the live server now. Before we had a look at it in the files, and also we had a look at it on the dev server. Well, now you can actually access it on the live server, whether it's through dynamic campaign or a user mission, depending on how you want to see it. So basically, we're going to go through the history of it in this video, and also we're going to talk about how, in my opinion, it will fit in the game in its current state. Because remember, the one that we're getting in game is going to be slightly different to the one that we have when it comes to historically. So let's go through the information. Why was this thing built? Where did it come from? What was the ideas behind it? Well, the first thing is that its official name is the Blackburn B-48. It is unofficially known as the Firecrest, so pretty much its nickname, and it was given the SBAC designation YA1, and it was a naval strike fighter destined for service with the British Fleet Air Arm after World War II. The actual specification, which was the S.28/43 one, it was looking for an improvement, an improved development of the Blackburn firebrand. This was issued, I believe, in 1944. And it was just looking for something at the time which could be designed, since the firebrand was seen as pretty much a failure by a lot of accounts. So overall they just wanted to make it better or find a solution to that issue, and Blackburn stepped up and created the B-48. The emphasis that was designed around the specification, though, was it needed to improve forward view for the pilots and also increase the maximum speed. So those were the two factors that they wanted increased. The resultant design featured the required evolution of the firebrand fuselage with a raised and repositioned cockpit, which was also moved slightly forward. So these pretty much helped the design go forward, and they also added in a new wing design, which featured an anhedral center section with a new thinner laminar flow wing section on the outer bit. And in some respects you could say that the Blackburn team definitely took some emphasis or lessons from machines such as the Corsair, the Mustang, and also the Tempest with their new design choices. The best way I can picture or define the first prototype for the B-48 to you when it comes to its wings is think of a Corsair's wings, and they're incredibly similar to it. And also, since it had to be carrier based, we needed some compatibility things added. So a tailhook was added. On top of this, there was hydraulically powered wing folding was also used, and also the double inward folding geometry was employed for this. If you want to have a look at some pictures, I would advise you to go and have a look on the internet. It's really interesting to see how they actually did this. With the firebrand, they actually used the Fowler flap system, and this was fitted to give good low speed handling, and the aircraft was also fitted with a retractable wing-mounted dive brakes, which I believe are present in the game, and if not, hopefully they will come when this is released as a Squadron vehicle. You know, the system that this is getting added to the game, we've talked about many times in the past. So the intended armament for this machine was a single torpedo or two underwing 250-pound bombs. There was also provision made for the carriage of rockets and two underwing Browning 50-inch machine gun pods or long-range drop tanks. So I can't find anywhere where this machine was supposed to have actual guns in the wings. Actually, in the wings themselves, all I can find is reference to them wanting to have guns in the form of gun pods. So the idea would be is if you want to take a torpedo, you'd take a torpedo and then maybe the gun pods alongside of it, or you would take the bombs and no gun pods. So that seems to be, and I will say seems to be since this was never fully created, that seems to be what they were aiming at. There was also provision for rockets, which obviously is great. So overall it had a good mixed bag, you know, rockets, bombs, torpedoes and guns, but nothing specifically built into the aircraft facilitated the primary weaponry, the machine guns. There were two aircraft which were initially built at Bruff, where BAE Systems, I believe, just either shut down their factory there or at least they lessened its workloads. I actually did some work experience there really back in the day, which is I've been through the whole place and, you know, saw the factory line and also saw some jets take off. It was a lovely place. I hope it's still there, and if it's not, it'll be interesting to see what the economy of Bruff is like. The RT-651 and the VF-172 were the two initial aircraft built. Neither were fitted with gun armaments. As I said, it just seems that with these vehicles, they just don't have anything actually laced into them. So the first prototype, which was the RT-651, flew for the first time from RAF Leckingfield, which is being used now as a training base, I believe, on the 1st of April 1947, and this clean aircraft was found to be some 40 miles per hour faster than the Firebrand, achieving a maximum speed of 380 miles per hour at 19,000 feet when powered by a 2,475 horsepower Bristol Centaurus 59 engine. So it was faster than the Firebrand. The actual look from the pilot was better, so overall the key aspects which the specification asked for, the Firecrest was excelling in. The second prototype, which was the RT-656, this one never actually flew, and it was just used for structural testing, and then it was scrapped in 1952, so nothing really came from that. But the third prototype, which was ordered in April 1945, so near the end of the war, the VF-172, had a reduced dihedral on the outer wing surfaces as well as power-assisted ailerons. So this pretty much means that the angle that you see from the wing, like from the inner wing to the edge of the wing, is much more lessened on this aircraft compared to before. It's not as steep. So this aircraft, the third prototype, was displayed in public for the first time on the 21st of August 1948, prior to flying at the Farnborough SBAC show in September of that year. If you want to have a look at some really interesting British history, just have a look at the Farnborough shows. I would definitely recommend them if you're interested in air history when it comes to Britain and also other countries. And at this point, in 1948, the flight test program was dramatically reduced, basically because the test pilots described the plane as very disappointing. The general notes were that it wasn't very nice to handle. Yes, the speed was faster, but all other aspects of it did not make it nice to fly. And at this state, you know, post-World War II, a lot of other companies had worked out designs which could do both, which were incredibly fast and also were comfortable to fly. So unfortunately the B-48 was kind of failing in those areas. So the development of the B-48 Firecrest, it didn't proceed after this point, as it was clear not just because of the fact of its issues, but also because of newer technology. You've got to remember, post-World War II was the beginning of the jet age. Even in World War II, you know, the Me-262, the Meteor F-3, all of the weird and wonderful Soviet prototypes that they made, the Americans were getting involved with the jets, and also there was turboprops around, or the turboprop power, at least from the engines. So the B-48 was, by 1948, kind of old school in a way. You know, just being a normal piston engine instead of a jet or a turboprop, and this meant that it was always going to lose out when it came to the power of these new and fangled vehicles. So this was further illustrated by the Fleet Air Arm. They adopted the Wyvern, which we have in game, and also the Fairy Gannet, which I believe we don't, well, I know we don't have in game, but I don't know if there are any plans for it, but I would love to see the Fairy Gannet one day. The Wyvern is obviously a premium vehicle for the British, and it doesn't really have a tech tree equivalent, so it would be lovely to see. If you want to see an abomination of an aircraft, I would definitely say go and have a look at the Gannet. It just seems like a weird and wonderful mix of pretty much everything. You know, when you have all of these weird and wonderful ideas and you want to put them together, the Gannet is the way to go. I might make a video on it later on, but I'll have a think. So yeah, these two aircraft were used for shipboard strikes, anti-submarine use, and also the submarine attacker and the Hawker Seahawk. They served in the fighter role, so there wasn't really space for the B-48 at the end of the day. And then the Blackburn switched their attention to the B-54 and also the B-88, which were also both unsuccessful, and they tried to offer competition to the Fairy Gannet, and unfortunately they didn't go so well. So Blackburn exists. I believe it was bought out by BAE Systems a very long time ago after going defunct. So it technically exists in some way or another, but at the end of the day, Blackburn made some crazy designs. They also made some designs which worked really well, so it's kind of very much a hit and miss scenario with Blackburn. Anyway, let's talk about the differences between what I've described and the one in game. Well, the one in game, I'm pretty sure will not have the folding wings, because I don't think we have a single vehicle in game that does have the folding wings, and also the one in game, at least from my tests, has two 50 caliber M3 machine guns in its wings, basically where the crease is probably the best way of saying it. Now, these M3 50 cals, it is kind of odd to see them. I think it would be much better to just have the gun pods, which it was supposed to have, but I understand why they've decided to do this, because it means no matter what loadout you take, you always have a primary armament. It doesn't feel very nice to fly, to be honest, and with the fact it doesn't have a lot of armament, I can't really see it being that high of a BR. So even though this vehicle is not going to be very powerful, it is nice to see that it is coming to the game. There are many interesting British prototypes which could be added, which are around that, you know, late war, post-war period, and the Firebrand is one of them. And on top of this, since it's coming out as a Squadron vehicle, there is also a chance that you could just have a tech tree vehicle. The fact that there are two distinct prototypes, the first one, which I believe is the one that we see in front of us, and also the third one, with the lower edged wings. I think it would be great to see them, both in game. I'm very happy that we are seeing at least one of them in game, and in the future, I want to really expand on these prototypes which were tested, which have a lot of data on them. Maybe not the armament has a ton of, it's more speculation than anything else, but as shown here, it can be at least done in a more realistic way. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.